We have more economic news coming out of China. Evergrande, the largest real estate company in China, has been sitting in limbo for around 2 years. They have $300 billion in debt, and finally, Evergrande was ordered by a judge in Hong Kong to liquidate. This move will set off a race by lawyers to try and grab anything that belongs to Evergrande that can be sold in order to pay back creditors. In response to this decision, the stock price dropped more than 20% before trading was finally halted. Now, this is happening just a week after the Chinese stock exchange dropped by 6.2 million yen. Now, so the stock is just in a total free fall. Evergrande's lawyers have attempted to stop the liquidation. They say that this will not help creditors get repaid and ask for more time to make a deal with their creditors. Well, Evergrande has been trying to make a deal with their creditors for the last 2 years. That's why they've been in limbo.
Yeah.
And they've made absolutely zero progress. This is why the judge did not go for this. So the judge is ordering Evergrande to wind up its operations, citing the company's inability to bring concrete proposal to the court for 1.5 years. This is going to be hard for Evergrande because a lot of its assets don't really have any real value.
Yeah, I've seen something that said that Evergrande is going to get like 1 to 2 cents on the dollar for its assets.
God, that's so bad.
Yeah.
And it also makes it hard because real estate is tightly intertwined with politics in China. And a lot of this is all political maneuvering now. Under an agreement signed in 2021 between Hong Kong and Beijing, a mainland Chinese court would recognize the Hong Kong's court-appointed liquidator to allow creditors to take control of Evergrande assets in mainland China. So right now, on the books, there's an agreement that Hong Kong and Beijing have agreed that a Hong Kong liquidator can come in to China proper and liquidate the firm, okay? But so far, only 5 such requests to local Chinese courts have ever been granted. Oh, I'm sorry. But so far, only 1 of the 5 requests to local Chinese courts have ever been granted. So only 20% success rate there, okay?
Yeah.
What if China could just say, no, you're not liquidating Evergrande?
Yeah.
Because it's so intertwined with politics, right? And Xi doesn't want to portray the decline of the nation's economy. He doesn't want this liquidation to happen.
Yeah, this is the important takeaway here, right? We've known that Evergrande was bankrupt or that it had defaulted on its debts for years now.
Yeah.
Liquidation was almost certainly, at least partial liquidation was going to have to happen at some point. The interesting thing to watch now is how does China respond to an offshore creditor coming to collect, right? Because China and specifically local governments have massive amounts of debt. And a lot of those are held by offshore creditors. And if suddenly those offshore creditors start to lose trust in China, in these governments being able to pay back on those debts, it's what I imagine is something like a bank run.
Yes. Now we need to see, are creditors' rights going to be respected?
Yep.
Right? China has made this turn towards capitalism and since the 1990s. They've done all this. They've opened up their markets to international money. Okay, you know what comes with that? Being responsible for that money.
Exactly.
Being responsible and responsive to international creditors. Okay? If you can't follow through on that, no one's going to want to invest in China anymore.
Yeah.
Foreign direct investment's going to plummet. And all these Chinese debt crises that we talk about are just going to become that much more prominent because no one is going to trust the Chinese government and the Chinese mainland and the Chinese economy as a worthwhile, safe place to put their money.
Yeah. And for that reason, I do think that she will, I mean, you say 1 of 5 requests to local Chinese courts have been granted. She has to know what kind of pressure is here to actually pay off these debts.
Yeah, I don't know the size of the other 5 that have been made. It's not Evergrande big.
No. I just think the government has to bail them out to some extent because this kind of foreign direct investment is so necessary to their economic.
When you say bail them out, you don't mean bail them out. You mean let the liquidation go through.
Let the liquidation go through, but also and if they need to pitch in for some of the payments, do it. Like not to save the company, but to maintain their own integrity.
Whole.
Yeah.
Make the creditors whole.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. It's going to be really hard for China. This is also a threat to Xi's centralization of power, right?
Yeah.
This is a Hong Kong court affecting Beijing economics and Beijing policy. This is a whole threat to his power a little.
Well, that's a part of it too. Like Hong Kong has kind of just become another arm of China in recent years.
Yeah.
So if they can't square things off with Hong Kong, then think about like Western creditors. Like that's a whole different story, and they're going to be probably much more hostile, much less trusting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.